And welcome back into a brand new episode of Tribal Council Chat, the flagship show of the Reality Realm Network. As always, we are your hosts. My name is Bruce Heller,
And my name's Brett Parnell.
and let's dive in. So, overall thoughts on this episode, Brett?
Overall thoughts. This was for new twist. I really liked it. There's certain ways I think that they could improve it that I've heard over time, but I think production did very well with that. It was not what I was expecting, so that was always good.
Yeah.
Um, Tribal was probably the best one we've got so far, even though it resulted in another one of my players going home this week, which was unfortunate. But
Which I hate, but at the same time, after last week, I was afraid we were going to get a repeat of last season where my people just all start going out in a row.
yeah,
So, glad that didn't happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then some other fun things happened too, like the completely botched negotiation when a tribe forgets about new rules of survival in the new era. That was great. Serves them right.
Wait, what rule did they forget with the negotiation?
Losing your flint if you lose the challenge.
Oh, well, I don't. Yeah, but
We'll get to that when we get to the challenge,
I
but
don't think it makes a difference. I don't like they wouldn't have eaten the chickens anyway. So,
I guess
but who is your player of the week?
my player of this week has to be Sam.
Yeah, me too.
And I mean, ultimately, Sam was able in this spot to be, even though his tribe lost the challenge, he was the general of the tribe. He kept his players in order. Sierra and Andy both voted with him exactly as expected to. And Annika went home, which I think Sam was the only person who really didn't like her on this tribe.
Yeah,
And he got exactly what he wanted out of it.
yeah, and he gets Sierra to agree to send Annika home, even though Annika is better for Sierra's game than Andy is.
Yeah.
Annika would have been super loyal to Sierra. The girl, she was all in on that girl's alliance. I think
Oh,
Rachel was
absolutely.
too.
Oh,
Sam
they
somehow
both
gets
were.
Sierra to abandon that to keep
Sierra was the
Andy.
one who wasn't all in on it.
Yeah, which honestly, I think that alliance might have been better for her game, but this is what's better for my team.
Yeah.
So yes, and I
And
like.
what's and
He's
what's
not on
better
my
for
team, but I like Andy a lot, so I'm happy he's staying for a little while.
and I mean not necessarily what's better for my team with my fourth round draft pick going out, but my winner pick is seems to be in the power position of this tribe, so it's better for me overall.
And then there's my winner pick, but we'll get to that. I I don't know what to do with her right now. Uh so
that that tribe we haven't seen a lot from though. So
I don't think she handled this episode terribly, honestly.
yeah,
I think she did some like what she did wasn't bad. Doing it in front of one specific person that was there wasn't smart.
true.
Like,
Either
dude,
way, do you want to get into the episode and start at Lavo?
yeah, so at Lavo, Rome being who he is, and immediately confronts Teeny about voting for him. If she about knowing the plan was him. Teeny didn't have a vote, and
Yeah.
Kevin, before you hear this, and immediately text me that Teeny didn't have a vote. I corrected myself. You don't need to fact check me on that one, but that's a thing. I will. He has become our show's fact checker, but only for when I say things wrong.
Sounds
Well,
all
both of us, but I do it more than you do. So it's all
sound,
in good fun, though.
sounds a lot like what happens with Fact checking in the broader world.
But what's funny is usually like Teeny got blindsided at this tribal. And usually when that happens, like when someone gets blindsided without going home, they're the ones asking questions and kind
Yep.
of confronting people about. This time, Teeny's the one that gets confronted because Rome is immediately like, "Hey, you knew the plan was me. Why didn't you tell me?" I'm like, dude, just take your win a little bit.
Rome does not know how to take his win
Like, calm
at
down,
all.
for tiny.
Like, he's not going to, but if Rome wins the game, Rome is going to not be satisfied because he needs to win winners at war now.
Yeah. And again, he's Hans.
Yeah,
This is something Russell would have done. Tribal goes exactly his way. He pulls some big dramatic move, then comes back and confronts one person about one thing. Like, just take it. Be happy that Tribal went the way you wanted it to.
exactly.
But Teeny's response here is interesting. It's not the like confrontational that we normally see from someone who got blindsided of, well, why didn't you tell me what happened here? Teeny's just being honest and trying to make sure she wasn't in danger, which she never was. But Teeny's kind of panicking here and trying to make sure, like, hey, I'm still safe, right?
Yeah. And in contrast with that, um, despite having to kind of explain herself to everybody, Genevieve has really owned this move well and seems to be, like I just said, if Sam's in charge of his tribe, she seems to be in charge here.
Yeah, she kind of describes the power structure here when she's reaffirming Teeny. And she says, you and I are in the middle, Saul and Rome are at the bottom. Which, the way she explains it makes sense, but middle implies there's a top and a bottom around you. You can't
Yeah.
say two people are in the middle and two people are at the bottom. If there's a middle, someone has to be on top.
And she smartly doesn't want to say that she's on top.
Yeah. What I think what she believes what she says though. She wants to work with Teeny. Rome and
Yep.
Saul at this point seem like they aren't gonna work together.
Yep.
And so
You have options.
yeah, the two of them can choose who to go to. It makes sense that the two of them are in the middle of the other two, but just the wording of that was funny to me. And so Teeny's also afraid that because of how he's reacted, Rome won't want to work with her going forward. Which, to be honest, I don't think Teeny really needs Rome.
No.
So, like, I get it, but
The only
you don't
way
need to worry
Teeny
about that one.
needs Rome is if Rome and Genevieve are completely locked to the point that both of them could be saying, we can get rid of Saul, but we can also get rid of Teeny because Teeny's a better player than Saul.
Yeah. So,
But as we see at the end of the episode, none of this really matters.
yeah. And so we leave Lavo and go to a reward challenge, which you had got. We walk in and we see that there's two colors on the whole challenge, and a lot of the players are thinking, "Oh, we're going down to two tribes." And
Yep,
I'm
that's what I
really
thought.
excited because a certain co-host of mine on this show texted me this past week and said we're going down to two tribes this week. And I was thinking, cool, first time in the new era, two tribes. I'm pumped for this.
Yeah.
And no, it's just two teams for this one challenge.
Jeff's always playing tricks on me. Sorry about that.
I don't like it. I like this reward though, and the reward he calls it a Survivor Social Hour, which we go to the sanctuary, which woo, that's still a thing. We can't go back to normal rewards. Everything has to be in this one place.
Yeah.
I guess that the rewards are still the same they've always been. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
we're going to this one place for them for some reason. So
Which
I
I
guess
mean,
it doesn't make that big of a difference. I just don't know why we have to make such a big deal about it.
when we're in the same location for the season, it doesn't make much of a difference because it's not like Fiji is the most inhabited place in the world. You're mostly surrounded by either deserted islands or resorts in the location that they're playing in.
I think he just wants to hype up the sanctuary as this thing in people's mind.
Yeah.
It's desirable. Because like every time he says the sanctuary, he makes sure we know that that's where good things happen. So, but they go to the sanctuary where good things happen, and it's Survivor Social Hour with the winning team, and there will be cornhole and grilling, and you get to talk and mingle with these people from other tribes, maybe for the first time. We haven't seen this before, but this is a
Yeah.
really cool reward.
It was a really cool reward. I like the fact that they're interacting with the people that they won the challenge with. I'm going to repeat something that I heard on Survivor Specialist, which just made so much sense to me. And that's that on that show, one of the co hosts was saying, if you want the tribes to spill the tea over what's actually going on their beaches and to build bonds with the other tribe, come on, Jeff, give them booze.
Which
And I
Survivor?
agreed with that so much because it's like you give people Coca Cola, they're going to be in game mode. You give them some tequila in there, and all hell could break loose when they go back to their beach.
Yeah, I just want to. My favorite drink rewards have been the ones where they do Mountain Dew. So that's what I'd be looking for. That's my drink I'm addicted to, I guess. It has been described as me being addicted to Mountain Dew. I am not going to agree to that. I am going to deny that. It has been described that way.
I'll ask your mom next time she comes on.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be getting a text from either her or Kevin regarding that. But oh well, I'm denying it forever. I like it. I'm not addicted. I can stop whenever I want to. I have water with me this episode, but it would have been great if I had a can or bottle of Mountain Dew with me. Comedically, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, that would have been funny.
So this reward challenge, they have to unlock. Oh, also, this is in my notes. Going down to two tribes. First time with two tribes in the new era. Darn, two teams just for this challenge. So you kind of get my roller coaster of emotions in my notes there. But they have to unlock this ladder. Then they have to maneuver it through this little. Well, I don't know what to call it. It's trapped in this thing that they have to maneuver it out of. The thing is kind of zigzaggy, also.
Ladder maze.
I guess. They have to collect 5 balls and shoot them into 5 different targets. And as we mentioned, the reward is Survivor Social Hour. And the team, and ultimately, the team that wins reward, unless you have any notes from the challenge itself, the team that wins reward is Sam, Rachel, Sue, Caroline, Teeny, Kyle, Tiyanna,
That's right. That's
and
it.
that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I just want to say something here, if you don't mind, before.
Yeah, of course.
When I saw both these two well, I guess they're not tribes. Thanks, Jeff. These two teams standing side by side, I thought this team was going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
I thought the other team was easily going to run away with this. So, full credit to them. I was not expecting this win at all, and they pulled it off.
Yeah, for sure. So we get to the sanctuary, and my first thought was Rachel and Sam being the two people here from Gada is an interesting pair because we really haven't seen anything with these two together.
Yep.
So, and then let's get to probably the biggest talking point from the sanctuary. Tiyanna throws Gabe under the bus completely.
Yep.
Like, hey, he was kind of chaotic the first couple days, looking for an idol, played an idol the first tribal council, just really, and I don't think she said anything wrong, like, or incorrect, and I don't even hate this move, but she says it right in front of Sue, who was like Gabe's locked in
Yep.
number one for eternity.
Yep.
Like, I love the
And
idea
Caroline's right
behind
there,
it.
who's also tight with Sue in this on this reward.
Yeah, Caroline's tight with Gabe also.
Yep.
Not it doesn't feel as much as like as close as Sue is. She's kind of
No.
questioning if she can trust him sometimes. But I don't hate this idea. I love the idea of trying to throw a target on Gabe, who's been wanting to target you last week.
Yeah.
If Tuku had gone.
Absolutely.
But pull people aside and do that in private conversations. Don't do it where Sue and Caroline are watching you do it. Because we
Big.
see they run back to camp and immediately tell him, and 3 out of 5 people are upset with her now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Not a good move. Um.
It was a good
Probably
idea, though.
it was a good idea, just not well executed. It probably could have been played a lot better if it was maybe done just a little later in the game.
Yeah. Or just do it, and we see people break apart into private conversations. Do it
All the
that way.
time.
Like even at this reward, we see people break apart. So do it that way. You don't have to do it in front of everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good for Tiyanna that it looks like the merge is coming next week.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
hopefully she can jump ship and kind of get a new light.
I mean,
I think she'll put herself on the bottom of Tuku.
the fact that this game has really been the most equal season, I want to say, since like, I mean, I'm going to say since probably Korong between all three tribes. It's good for the vast majority of players, pretty much, unless you're Sam, Genevieve, or Sierra, that the merge is coming.
Yeah, and it looks like it's coming next week based on the preview.
Yeah.
But I think Tiyanna needs to try to get in with one of the other groups. I
Yeah, I'd
think she
agree.
put herself on the bottom of Tuku, and I don't. I think Tuku would be willing to sacrifice one of their own numbers at the merge to take her out.
Absolutely. I would completely see that, but I'm not going to say her game is necessarily done because I do see Tiyanna as being a player who maybe could be a four for with like to Sam and Sierra and Andy,
I would
or
love that.
possibly also like a four with Genevieve, Rome, and Teeny.
Or Genevieve Solentini,
Yeah,
because Rome. We'll get to Rome in a little bit. He had a.
we'll get to Rome in a little bit, but I'm just gonna throw out a little change that I made, especially seeing my first overall pick come to a much more power and getting a lot more to say in this show since the first three episodes
Yeah.
compared to the last two. I'm not yet set on the fact that Rome is going to go early pre-merge. I could see Rome being somebody like a Rodney or an Abby Maria or a Will Sims that Genevieve could take all the way to the end of this game just to trash him at final.
Yeah. Or not that this person made it all the way to final tribal, but he could be Q.
Yeah, exactly.
But we started to see this week, like he's starting to act in a way that Genevieve is questioning if he's helpful to her case and if she needs him or not. So we shall see. So still at the sanctuary, Caroline tells Rachel and Teeny how tight her and Sue are. And she tells us in a confessional that she has a great feeling from these two and wants to work with these two. So this might be a possible alliance come merge. Maybe. I feel like Caroline's pretty sold on her and Sue and Gabe, but
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just talking about places that Tiyanna could fit into a four. Maybe those people at the bottom of the other tribes. I'm looking at someone like a Rachel who could be a fourth vote there, or Saul.
yeah, I would love to see Saul stick around for a while.
Yeah, so would I.
Very fun. Reminds me of
I
Yule in a way, just
I
kind
could
of,
see like Saul and Gabe becoming very good allies in this game.
yeah. And I still think Tiana can go really deep into this game. She just needs to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah,
This was mess. It was a good idea, but messy execution. And I still think sending TK home was a bad move by her. So
yeah, I would
it's
agree.
recoverable. She's just not, I don't think she's thinking things through fully so far. But we've seen worse starts be recovered. So, I mean, look at Emily flipping the first episode in 45 and look how far she went.
That's right.
So, it can happen. So, where were we?
I
Here we
guess
go.
sorry, go ahead.
We go back to Lavo for a scene before we go. And Rome, this is where we get into Rome, tells Saul that Genevieve doesn't want to work with him and would rather work with Teeny, but says that he would rather work with Saul than Teeny. This is an interesting conversation here after everything these two have had back and forth the first 4 episodes of this season.
Yeah, this is interesting. Now I'm kind of second guessing myself because I just talked about Rome, and at the same time, now that he keeps doing these kind of things, he almost just becomes in that spot where you can't risk keeping him, even if he is easy to beat. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Both of them are possible, but the more and more chaos that Rome brings in scenes like this, the more likely he is to sink his own game.
Yeah, and my next note, and I think this is before she finds out what he said to Saul, even, is Genevieve has a confessional where she says she's realizing that Rome's value to her may be decreasing too.
Yeah.
So I think he could be merge boot, maybe early post merge.
We'll have
Either
to see what the dynamics look like when they all get on one beach.
I'll phrase it this way just for fun. I could see him being merge boot or what Survivor and Probst are going to call the merge boot.
I'm just going to say, I'm not a big fan of Rome at all so far, but I hope that's not the case just because I want to see Rome on the jury. Kind of the same way I wanted to see Sydney on the jury and was just destroyed by the fact that she was that boot.
He's not on my team, so if he goes earlier, that means my people are staying.
Fair.
I don't remember which one of your all's teams he's on, but if he's not on
He's
mine,
on Kevin's.
okay.
I shouldn't take him.
I didn't want to take him. If he ended up on my team, it would have been because he was the only one left, and I had the last pick. But
Yeah, Kevin took him in the 5th round.
because
I took Caroline in that round.
His cast release questionnaire and thinking he seemed cocky. Didn't
Were
think
you
it was
ever
this
right?
bad, but so we go back to Gada camp. And Sam,
This was hilarious because do you remember last week that I said nobody ever uses the fishing equipment that's not the Hawaiian sling? And Gata is out there once Sam is off on reward with Rachel screwing around with this giant net that they have no idea what to do anything with.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I kind of love that they proved you wrong on that one. That was
Yeah,
hilarious. But
I
also, I got to thinking about that, and I don't know that that was true anyway, because we've seen people use the net before. Tony caught a shark with that net, didn't he?
true.
So, which is another underrated funny shark scene, is Tony just running around holding a shark by the tail, not knowing what to do with it,
Yeah,
as he as a Tony naturally does. So
I
Sam
can't
can't.
wait to see Tony on Australian Survivor.
I can't wait to see him on the Traders.
Yeah, that too.
Here's the thing. I have a theory. So follow me on this. Because you know how the Traders Mansion just kind of has these like suits of armor
Yeah,
around? We've
think
had
I know what you're gonna say.
we've had a spy shack. There's these evolutions every time Tony's on our screen. We've had a spy shack. We've had a spy bunker, which was probably the least effective one of these, and game changers. And we've had a spy nest. I want to see the spy suit of armor and see him climb
That
in.
would be hilarious.
Obviously, it won't happen probably, but I want to see it so bad.
I mean, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I'm sure he's gonna find some way to spy on people in that castle.
Yeah, he will. I don't see him lasting long on that show
No.
because he's already like he's borderline too paranoid for it to work on Survivor. It's like Steven said. He's his game the way
It
he
shouldn't work, but it just does.
yeah, and the Traders as a show is meant to drive up paranoia.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
gonna
like
catch him, but he's gonna go down in a blaze of glory. Hopefully, it's similar to the Game Changers Blaze of Glory because that was just phenomenal.
I'm just trying to think if that happens, can we get some sort of future show in that spot where we have to get Tony and Johnny Bananas together after they're only on the traders for like a half an hour each?
Yeah,
That would be amazing. All right, so moving back to Gata, they're fishing, they come back, and then as we start to see with once again Andy's kind of all over the place, and suddenly Sierra's not so sure which way she wants to vote.
yeah. Again, we've seen this with her for a couple episodes now. Of she trusts Sam and his planning, but we've seen this back and forth of oh, I just don't know about Andy. Oh, Andy did something that builds my trust a little bit. Oh, Andy did something that I don't know anymore. She can't seem to decide where she wants to go on him.
Yeah, and I don't blame her there because it's gotta be a little nerve wracking to know that Andy is the way he's playing the game and like losing his shot in the dark and leaving idols in trees is essentially needed for your survival in the game. I'm not sure if it's one of those things that I'm like, if Sierra was to go with the three girls, it would probably move her the furthest forward in the game. But her and Sam going together as a duo, even without Andy at some point, could get her to the end of the game.
Yeah, true.
But
Way
it's a
way back
question
the
of
whole time.
will they both or will they all three get there or not?
Way back once upon a time. In the first off-season tribal council chat ever existed, and we did an episode on duos.
Yeah.
Would love to see another great duo again.
Yeah.
And I don't know if these two have the potential to be on this level of the ones we talked about, but man, it'd be fun to watch if they
It
do.
would be.
Someone on 45, I think, 45 or yeah, said they wanted to be the next JT and Steven.
Hmm.
Who was that?
I don't remember.
I remember someone making that comparison. Austin and Drew, I think.
Yeah, that was it. You're right.
That did not happen.
No.
But so I mean they were a tight duo. They did really well together, but so were we? We were at Gata.
Drew, I think we'll see back again.
Yeah, so we get back to yeah. Man, there's a lot of people from 45 I want to see back.
Yeah.
Can we just run it back with that season and that
That
same
would be great.
cast? I've seen it joked around about before about like taking a full cast from a season and completely replaying it with the same cast.
Yeah.
I'm nominating 45 in that
Yeah, I would
conversation.
like to see that one. That being said, at least hopefully permanently and in the long term, Austin will probably never play Survivor again for a conflict of interest. But
Oh,
congratulations to him.
oh, he's dating
Probst niece.
niece. I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I would like to see Austin back, but you look at the two duos he was a part of. Like you think of him being a duo with Drew most of the season, then D in the end game. He was. I feel like he was
Yeah.
kind of the second best player in both of those pairs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could argue like you could argue it with Drew, but he's certainly a lesser player than D and maybe than Drew.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So if of those three, if one of them's not going to come back, he might have been the one I picked anyway.
Yep.
So we
So
go back to Lavo. Speaking of red tribes, Reba, Lavo, it's all connected. And Genevieve tells and Saul are telling Teeny how Rome went crazy after the challenge. And so this is again where I don't think he's lasting past like merge boot or like early post merge.
so I don't know if he's lasting, but if he can last a few votes and you start looking at the end game and not the middle game, he is easily the person to that you want to sit next to in final.
Yeah,
That will not get any votes.
he could be a different version of what Q did last season,
Yeah.
just without the like pretending to quit, trying to quit, whatever that was.
That was bizarre.
Yeah. And so we get to Tuku for their sanctuary aftermath now. And Sue is feeling bad knowing that Tiyanna threw Gabe under the bus. And so I don't know how this ends up being Caroline's job, but Caroline goes to Tiyanna and trying to say, hey, you should come clean to Gabe.
I think it's Caroline's job because Caroline is seen as that middle person who's not going to be controversial in anything she says on this beach.
Yeah. And Tiana's response in confessional is, and this is smart, she's smart sometimes and think like she thinks things out well. Her execution just isn't well thought out. Like she plans well. Like this thought here, I don't feel like I need to do anything wrong, but I'll do this to appease Caroline and appease the rest of them so that I don't seem unagreeable or unwilling to work with other people or like I don't play well with others.
Yeah.
Like being aware of that perception is great, even if you don't think you did anything wrong. And I don't really think she did. I just think she should have done it in a more tactful, subtle way.
For sure.
But she does the fake apology, but she lies within it. And again, this is where just execution is not her strength. Because she has to know that when she says this to Gabe, he's gonna go fact check it.
Yep.
And she tells Gabe that, hey, I kind of threw you under the bus in a private conversation with a couple people, which is what she should have done. And Gabe's like nodding along, like pretending to go along with it, but saying in a confessional, like, no, I don't actually mean it. Like, I still want her gone.
Yep.
Then he immediately goes to Sue and be like, I don't know how Tiyanna didn't. This is annoying me because I think she's
Tiana's
smart. I
very
think she
lucky
thinks
in this
things through.
episode that her tribe was able to be so dominant in the challenge and just come first.
I don't. It frustrates me because there's potential. She has a good game sense, but her execution of these moves is just not well thought out. Because Gabe immediately goes to Sue and says, hey, this is what Tiyanna said she did. And Sue immediately is like, no, she didn't do that. She threw you under the bus in front of absolutely everyone there, very publicly. Like, how do you not know that's what he's going to do?
Yeah, you should.
It just, it's recoverable, but she just needs to think things through a little bit before she puts plans into action. Because this is the second time this episode where we've said, hey, good game sense, good thinking, but do it differently.
Yeah.
And of course, she's there and we're not.
But she seems to be a more chaotic player.
Which I didn't pick up on at all from the cast release. So, we get to the immunity challenge, and Gata brings the chickens with them and proposes a negotiation for eggs. They originally proposed 24 eggs, I think. Probst counters with 15. They say 20. Probst meets them in the middle at 18, and they agree. And I mean, and I like this. If the point of the chickens is to either eat them or get eggs, someone there doesn't want to kill them. Eggs have been slow. Why not trade them back for eggs?
I like the watching the negotiations is always fun. Doesn't matter if it's this week or Angelina or Boston Rob, you name it. But what a poor trade from the actual value of what it is on the island. You are in 30-degree weather, as I said, with no flint. Those eggs will rot in like an hour. Unless you're going to make 18 eggs right away,
Well,
I, I don't think there's any point. Personally, no offense to Sierra, only because I like her game so far and she's working with my winner pick, unlike, say, Wendy. But if you're not going to eat the chickens, then what are you on this show for? You're in the middle of the South Pacific.
I don't know that they rot that quickly, though. Like, do they?
Without refrigeration, I would imagine so.
Well, I don't know, because, like, farm eggs, for example, like, they're not refrigerated right away. Like, the eggs in the grocery
I don't
store,
know.
if you get eggs off of a farm, they're not refrigerated right away. Someone gave me eggs from their chickens one time that were just room
Oh, well.
temperature.
Well, I did not know that.
I don't know. But here's the thing, even though they lost their flint, that shouldn't matter. Throughout the show's history, we've seen that tribes continuously maintain their fire once they get it started. They're
Yeah.
not they shouldn't be needing to use the flint every time they want to cook.
No, you're right. It's not like it was pouring rain.
So,
So bad planning by them not to start a fire before they go to a challenge and make it huge.
well, why do they need they shouldn't even need to start one right before leaving the challenge. They should have been keeping a fire going the
That's
whole
what I
time
mean.
they've been
Bad
there.
planning from their part.
Yeah. I love the idea behind this trade. Because if they're not going to eat them, they said the chickens weren't laying a ton of eggs. trading the chickens you're not going to eat for 18 eggs that they weren't laying is a good trade. And you got Probst to go up on a number. He usually doesn't do that in negotiations.
True.
So they should have had a fire at camp.
Yep, that's a good point.
So we get to the challenge itself, and it's a fun challenge. They have to drag a heavy net full of sandbags and coconuts through this course, collecting more sandbags and coconuts on the way. Then they throw these sandbags at this giant puzzle standing on the ground made out of blocks till they knock every block over. Then they have to reassemble the same puzzle they just destroyed. And the first tribe to assemble it wins. This was fun to watch. I like the concept of, hey, destroy this thing, and now, hey, immediately fix the thing you just destroyed.
Yeah, that's always fun. It's almost like the reverse of the challenge that we've seen them do before, and also the one that Jay from Millennials vs. Gen X beat CT on over on MTV, where instead of destroying what the other player built, they're now doing it with themselves.
Yeah. So, Tuku wins. Lavo finishes second, just barely ahead of Gada. Close competition there. And even though I haven't been his biggest fan so far, I love Rome's reaction. Just genuine human moment. Like, you hear Probst talk about that all the time. Rome just being so happy that they don't have to go vote someone out. You can tell he didn't want to have to send someone home. I love Rome's relief at them beating Gada in this moment.
Yeah, same. Um, the fact that they won certainly makes some relief because Lavo has been losing quite a bit.
Yeah. And so, the first voice we hear after the challenge is your guy, Sam. He wants Annika gone because he doesn't trust her. Andy wants Annika and Rachel to see him. This is interesting from Andy. He wants them to see him as someone who feels very on the outside so that they trust him and they feed him a fake plan. This was interesting gameplay by him here.
Yeah. It was.
So, and I don't think it's super necessary because at the end of the day, it was a 3-2 vote anyway. If you pretend you're turning on, like, if you get them to give you a fake plan, or if you just play the I know I'm going home, like pretend you know you're on the bottom, the same thing happens either way. But I love seeing a bit of gameplay and strategy from Andy here that doesn't just go completely sideways and that he doesn't just screw it up the second he starts trying to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Andy is that wild card player, like we mentioned. So the fact that he can be part of this three and pull off that vote is fairly interesting. And also the fact that this never gets to Rachel, I found such a great moment when we see that. And I mean, we'll get to tribal in a minute, but how these three know that they have enough power to do the move that they want to do, so they just get it done.
Yeah. And Annika and Rachel, they pull Andy aside and give him the fake Sam plan. Which it's interesting, by the way, that it's just these two pulling him aside and not Sierra, because these two think it's this strong group of three girls alliance. So, like, because it wasn't right away, Andy goes up to them and be like, hey, I'm desperate. I'll work with you. Just give me a name. And then they part ways and they come back and pull him aside. But it's just two of them. And I was kind of curious why the two of them didn't involve Sierra in this, but and I guess it's because Sam is probably the fake name they give him now that I'm thinking this through. But what's interesting is Andy says, I set up that conversation and they don't even know it. So we're starting to see strategic Andy finally. Like, I like this.
Yeah, I do too. And I almost wonder how much is his strategic game, how much is maybe Sam teaching him how to play the game. But I mean, if he's figuring it out, he can be valuable going into a merge.
Oh, yeah. Get him and Tiyanna together and just let the weird chaos ensue.
Yeah,
So, right before Tribal, we see Sierra second guessing taking Annika out. And I think she's realizing what I was saying earlier, that keeping Annika is better for her game than keeping Andy. But nonetheless, Sam and Sierra trying to figure out how to work together as a pair, even if their individual interests may not align. And I like this because you need numbers in this game. You need to have someone you can trust. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, your game is your game, their game is their game. That's not always going to have the same interests. So they're trying to navigate that.
exactly.
So, and then I didn't take a ton of notes during Tribal. So what talking points do you have from Tribal?
Um, Kelly and Albanian 2.0 after the vote. That was epic. Um,
Yeah.
and also kind of like what I was just talking about, my main note from Tribal is that the majority on this in this tribe was able to ignore this whole breadwinners thing, pull it off, and the word never got to Rachel whatsoever, to the point that not only was Annika not let alone shocked, but in tears on her way out, but Rachel was in complete shock too. And that's going to be fun to watch because Rachel now knows that she cannot trust anyone else in her on her tribe, that she's the next to go if they were to go.
And
She,
Rachel's on my team, so I don't
yeah,
love that she's on the bottom. She's
she,
my least favorite of those four. But for my own selfish purposes, I don't like that she's on the bottom there.
yeah, I don't, I see that. The only thing is that now that we know a minute later that we're going into a merge, Rachel also has the potential now to be the biggest free agent in this game.
What if you just get the bottoms together?
Yeah,
Like Rachel, Tiyanna, let's say Rome.
Kyle.
Yeah, I don't feel like Kyle's near as like he hasn't sunk himself the way Tiyanna did. I think she was next to go if they were to go. But all these people that are feel at risk in their own tribes, it'd be interesting to see them come together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the wildest part for me was Annika's exit. And here's the thing, it's not how I would go. I'm enough of a fan of the game that I would just kind of be like, you got me, respect, I didn't see it coming. Like, good luck. But I like watching it as a viewer, you know?
Yeah, so do I.
I love the raw emotion. And like almost always you see someone get voted out, their torch gets snuffed, they turn and say goodbye to their tribe, they say good luck. Annika's torch gets snuffed, she turns and looks at them and they like wave at her and she's just like, no, and then leaves. That part right there was what got me. I'm like, oh, this is like a very real moment we're watching. Very interesting to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I hope after the game that Annika's going to be fine because these emotions that the players go through are real, and it is such a draining experience, both physically and mentally. But it also does make great TV to see how invested somebody like her is into this game, and that even going out pre-merge, you can tell that Annika wanted this more than anything, and that I mean, I know I've been literally thinking this since about season 25. I know a lot of fans talk about first boots, and I'm like, absolutely not. Most of them aren't very good players. I would love to see a season of all pre-merge exits, and a player like Annika would be one of the quick names that I would put on that list.
I don't know about it. I'm kind of 50-50, yes, no on an all first boot season. I do want to see, and I doubt it would happen just because this person has a lot going on outside of Survivor. I would love to see Kagyan's first boot, David Sampson, come back. That guy was
Yeah,
so fun to talk to. I love his content. I was a fan of him before I realized he was on Survivor, actually. But
that's funny.
he was so fun to talk to, so I'd love to
Oh
see him
yeah, he
play
was.
again.
I'd love
Very
to see some
analytical
first boots,
thinker.
but I don't need to see 20 of them.
No, we just clone one first boot 20 times and watch all 20 of the Jelinskis go at it against each other. Oh my gosh, no. No, thank you. That's too much.
Yeah,
Some
that's
of
too
them is
much.
fun. 20 of them would be hard to keep up with. So, a line blindside first boot. Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
You go first. Kind of forgot about this after doing two podcasts today, so I need to think of a theme.
You know what? I've been there. So,
Okay.
I have two names. I'm trying to think of a third real quick off the top of my head. Okay. I'll just throw a third name in here that
Sure.
is someone that I thought about including last week, and I let you pick your third person, and you didn't choose this person. So, Brandon Hance, you have
Oh God.
Francesca Hoagie, only two-time first boot. If someone were to ask me the worst player of all time, my answer is probably Francesca, just because it's easy to say, hey, numbers. Probably not that bad of a player, but only two-time first boot. So, and then your third one of your favorites. You love this person's fan base, Aubrey Bracco.
I do like Aubrey, despite the fact that the you love this person's fan base is a Rome level lie.
Oh yeah, for those of you listening
I
on
am.
audio and
So
not
my
watching on
options
YouTube, I put
are.
for those of you not watching on YouTube, I put air quotes around that line.
So my options are Aubrey, Russell, and Francesca.
No, not Russell,
I'm
Brandon.
gonna.
Not
Oh,
Russell.
Brandon, sorry. Okay, so let's just start with the obvious first boot, Brandon Hance. Need I say more? I'm going to align with Aubrey
Yes.
because we've seen Aubrey get to the end. Looking at you, Aubrey fans, we've seen Aubrey lose in Final Tribal Council, so she can be beaten. And therefore, that leads me to blindside Francesca. I really want to see Francesca go deep into the game just because she's been voted out twice. So,
Okay, so my theme was try to get Brett to align with Aubrey, if I'm being honest. So
success.
I feel victorious because I think I've done that before and just not said it and beforehand, and it hasn't worked out. So I found the formula. Just get a Hans and a two-time first boot, and there you go. Um, Gosh, I think I'm gonna first boot Francesca just for the meme. I don't know how. Aside from the joke, I don't know how well me and her would work together or not. I'm gonna blindside Brandon because Philip aside, look at Brandon's first season. He seemed loyal to the people he was working with. So I can at least help him as a number, help me to have him as a number until merge and send him home as a merge boot.
Yeah.
Very trusting guy. Again, I'm basing this off of his first season, not the season where he kind of had a mental break at a challenge and they voted him out before the challenge even started without tribal, where Probst was like patting him on the back, getting him to come. Not that season. I'm basing this purely based off of his first season. And then I'll align with Aubrey because it's the only good option that I feel can get me anywhere close to the end as
Yeah.
a number one alliance here.
All right.
Which is kind of by design to try to get you to pick her and compliment her. But
Hey, I mean, I've always complimented Aubrey herself as a player.
oh, I know. I just wanted to see if I could get you to do it on the show.
She's an excellent player on the show. Whether or not I agree with the people who love her in Survivor Fan Jury is a totally different question.
My mom's one of those, by the
Yeah.
way. She's one of the Aubrey should have won people.
Oh, really? I would have never known that.
I
Heather,
thought
next time you come on the show.
I thought she had mentioned it when she's been on here before, but yeah. So,
I did not know
um,
she was that much like should have won. I thought she just liked her as a player.
I think it's a little. I don't know. I don't think it's super strong like some of the online ones are, but she
So
definitely would have voted for Aubrey to win. And I've before I watched the season, I heard that opinion from her.
makes
So
sense. Fair enough. All right, so I have my three. With this reward, cross tribal interaction was um a memorable part of this episode. So I'm gonna give you three people from old school Survivor who have had some famous cross tribal interactions. So your options are from Token Teens, Taj George, from Cook Islands, Cowboy, and from Exile Island, Danielle DiLorenzo.
Taj, I love Taj, but Taj is a problem for me in this game because I love her too much to first boot her. I'd love to spend 39 days playing with her. But she's so likable that if I go to the end with her, there's a really good chance I lose, and I don't want to do that. But if I blindside her, like she was blindsided fourth place in real life, she took that really personally and was kind
Yeah,
of bitter about it, and I don't want that against me either. So I'm going to very begrudgingly first boot Tosh, even though
yeah.
I
I
love
think you have
Tosh
to.
to death.
Same, I agree with completely
You
there.
can't go to the end with her, and she takes it too personal to blindside her. So this is what Tosh gets. I'll align with Danielle. I think we'd work together. She seems like a fun person to spend time with,
Yeah.
which leads me to blindside Cowboy. And I liked Cowboy. Cowboy was fun. I think he drove some of his original tribe mates crazy a little bit, but he was fun.
I I randomly saw something when I was just looking at Survivor Island areas in like Wilco and whatnot, because you know that I'm also into traveling and I like to look at where all these beaches are and what
Wait,
parts of the.
really? You like to travel?
Yeah, no one ever saw that coming. But I randomly came across a thing. I don't know if you've seen this, but that Cowboy is now living back in Southeast Asia.
Huh.
I thought that was neat. Someone is like a backpacker that was a big Survivor fan randomly like took a picture with him at his work in Vietnam or Cambodia or something.
Cool. Also,
But yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on this one. I'm gonna reluctantly first boot Taj just because she will beat you if you take her to the end, and she will not vote for you if you blindside her. And that means that, like you did, I'm gonna align with Danielle, who's a bit more of a straightforward player and knows how to get to the end of this game. She got to the end once. I mean, I think Danielle was playing a game that could have potentially won Heroes versus Villains if she gets to the end of that game.
why was she a villain? I don't get that.
Why was she a villain? Because the fan base at that time was obsessed with Terry Deeds,
I
and
do love Terry. Don't get me
and
wrong, but that's not enough to.
I'm gonna be honest. I am not a Terry fan, so maybe I have a little difference there. I like him a lot more when we saw him in Cambodia, and that exit was just so sad. But I was not a fan of his in season 12 at all. So, but I know how much the fans loved him, and the fact that Danielle was basically taught how to make fire to beat Sui. Not like she would have probably still beat Sui anyway, but that Terry really coached her through that whole process. And then one day later, she blindsides him after winning individual immunity, and therefore pretty much takes $1 million away from Terry. I think that that's why they put her as a villain.
Fair enough. Also, shout out to Cowboy because I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering right, he invented the concept of splitting votes.
Yes, he did. Plan Voodoo.
Doesn't get mentioned very often, but shout out to him.
Cowboy is one of the. That's what I want to know. I don't know if maybe he was already in Asia at the time and couldn't be contacted. But when we look at like what were people like Haley Ford doing on a season called Game Changers, Cowboy is like the ultimate game changer, believe it or not.
Yeah. So this was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Check out all Reality Realm content. Pit Stop Pals. We're in the middle of another fun rewatch right now.
Do we want to do a power ranking before we go into this?
I forgot about that. Let's put the plug in this ad, people. Top and bottom. Who you got?
All right. I am going to go top with. Hmm. I think this player has so many options, and now that we know the merge is going forward, that what who's in what tribe is a lot less relevant. So I am gonna shift making my top spot for the first time, my first overall pick in the draft, Genevieve.
Interesting. Interesting.
And shout out, I went through a whole 1 hour and 10-minute episode and made sure that I referred to her by her proper name this entire show. It's a record.
It is a record. We also didn't make any All-Star references this whole
Yeah,
show,
we
which
didn't.
also might be a first. So look at us growing up.
And
Yeah.
bottom, this is tough because a when we don't know who's going to be on what side of this so-called earn the merge thing, we have no idea what's going to happen. But seeing how utterly shocked this person was at the vote, I'm unfortunately going to have to put Rachel here, at least for this week.
Yeah. Real quick on Genevieve. I must have forgot to put this in my notes. I was too wrapped up in the show. Interesting scene from her is Rome told Saul that I don't want to work with Saul long term, which I did say, but I don't need Rome telling him that. She seems to have Saul pretty convinced that she didn't actually say that. And that's kind of why they told Teeny Rome went crazy, because Genevieve's covering up her opinion on Saul. So that's something to watch out for, because Genevieve did even admit in a confessional to saying she doesn't want to go with Saul long term. But she's covering it up and making it look like Rome told a lie. So
Yeah.
watch out for Lavo. Um, before I do my top and bottom, quick question. Do you think any of these tribes sticking together in the merge?
As in the whole tribe?
Yeah.
No. I think
Not
there's
like not
I
like
think
not like the Reba 4 where they were just dominant, but at least like a vote or two. I could see Gata.
yeah, if it
Rachel and
was a vote or two maybe, but I don't see any one of these tribes say being the final four and going into fire making against each other.
no, but I think Rachel's recoverable. Her
Yeah,
and Sierra seem to have a good relationship before this. If they can patch that up, I can see the four of them going, not like final four, final five, but going to like a little while. So because of that, my bottom is going to be Rome. I think Genevieve is realizing that the value of having him as her top ally is running out. So
yeah,
you've got that, and my, I think he's worn thin on his Lavo tribe mates. I think he's gonna wear thin on his merge tribe mates a lot quicker, and it's gonna be bigger numbers, so it's harder for allies to save you if a majority wants to send you home because it's more minds to have to change. So I'm saying Rome on the bottom
yeah,
here,
exactly.
and I'm gonna say Sam on top because he somehow convinced Sarah to vote in his best interest instead of her own. And so he's got his tight three on his side now. Two people that are both pretty loyal to him. And he's likable. He's easy to talk to. He's fun. Seems like he gets along with everyone pretty well, other than Annika, who's gone. So Sam is at the top. Rome is at the bottom. There we go. Check out all Reality Realm content. Pit Stop Pals, me and Kevin Oliver are in the swing of another Amazing Race rewatch. Watch that season along with us. Check
Yep.
out our weekly shenanigans. We get sidetracked a ton, but it's lots of fun and shenanigans and hijinks. You'll smile a lot listening to our show. It's a
Yep.
party. What are you guys doing over at New Generation Challengers?
We have just recorded another episode today, so it'll come out the day after this episode, and that is the end of the battle of the eras, but the battle's still going on. It's now an individual game.
Oh,
So
wow.
that is going to be fun. We're in the final 18. I'm assuming 8 to 10 people are going to make the final. So it's probably about the last third of the game for you Survivor fans. Michelle is still in there. She is playing an amazing game with Era 4, which I'm repping today. And lot lots of new people, but also some of the older favorites are still as dominant as ever. Um, if you didn't watch it, Rachel Robinson killed everybody this week. Johnny Bananas is playing a great game. Loyal's playing a great game. So
Kara
it's going to
question
be fun.
mark?
Pardon?
Kara question mark?
Kara's still in there. Um, I'm anticipating seeing that now we're going to an individual game that we might start to get more screen time from Kara. She might. I think you're gonna probably see Kara start working with some of the newer players.
She gets a lot of screen time any season she's on, so that'll happen
She
at some
hasn't
point.
been this season so much.
I fell really behind, and I'm just gonna probably order either Paramount Plus when it hits there or Prime Video. Just order the season and binge it
Yeah.
after it's done at this point. But so never mind. I'll ask that question after we're done recording. That being said, everyone, thank you for joining. Grab your torches, head back to camp. Bye,
Good
everyone.
night.